of a United States appeal that Julian Assange could be extradited to the U.S. to face charges under the Espionage Act for publishing those classified diplomatic and military cables back in 2010 and 2011. He could face up to 175 years in prison. Press freedom groups call it a miscarriage of justice. Assange's lawyers will certainly appeal the decision. But our next guest says if he is extradited, it could also stir up trouble for Donald Trump. Joining me now, Frank Figliuzzi, former assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI and an Msnbc security analyst. Welcome, Frank. So let's talk about this big picture. Julian Assange, for his part, he has fiercely fought extradition to the U.S., but you have written that Donald Trump also better hope that Assange never sets foot on U.S. soil. What should Trump be so afraid of?
Yeah, Alex. Well, there's at least three people who should be very concerned about the possibility of Assange being extradited to the United States. First, former President Trump. Secondly, Don Trump Jr. and also Roger Stone. And here's why. Assange possesses the capability, the knowledge, to help close the gap between all of that Mueller investigation talk of collusion with Russia and the 2016 campaign, and the gap between that and criminal chargeable conspiracy with Russia. So here's the deal. If you recall, Assange, WikiLeaks, actually reached out to Guccifer 2.0, known to be a Russian intelligence GRU entity, and said, give me that hacked material that, by the way, Mueller charged 12 Russian intelligence officers for hacking. Give that to me, WikiLeaks. I'll disseminate it and help the Trump campaign. He knows also who he was in direct contact with during the campaign. We know from investigation that Don Jr. was in contact with WikiLeaks for months during the campaign, even received tasking and acted on it from WikiLeaks. We also know from investigation that Rick Gates, an aide to Trump on a drive to LaGuardia Airport with Trump took a call, he says, from Roger Stone, hung up the phone and told Gates there's going to be more dirt coming from WikiLeaks soon. So Stone was asserting that he was in contact with WikiLeaks. If Assange can close that gap, here's who I talked to in the campaign. Here's what they told me Trump knew. Here's how I worked with Russia on behalf of the campaign. We're closing that gap to criminal conspiracy. And it also means that Trump would have lied to Mueller when asked about this issue numerous times.
Okay, I want to be real clear on the espionage charges which Assange faces. They are not about the 2016 WikiLeaks publication of Democratic Party emails that were hacked by the Russian government. Instead, the case surrounds Assange's part in the hacking and publishing of classified information and documents around the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, which were made public, at least in part, by working with media organizations. President Obama chose not to charge Assange with the Espionage Act because of concerns about a negative impact on journalists. But nevertheless, you've suggested that Assange may be able to help the U.S. government by accepting more lenient charges or some kind of a plea deal if he provides intel on the Russia investigation. So what does that look like?
Yeah, I don't do this lightly because, you know, I was the head of counterintel.
Right.
I led leak investigations. I had a piece of this one. I think WikiLeaks is tantamount to a foreign power against the United States. But here's the deal. They can split the difference at DOJ with this and say, you know what? You're not a media organization if your sole purpose is to actually help somebody, Chelsea Manning, an active duty Army intel officer, right? Help him hack, give him the tools to mask his hacking. If you exist solely to commit criminal activity and help people do it, that's not a media organization. But you know what? We're going to just charge you with that helping of hacking and dissemination of the hundreds of thousands of classified emails that Chelsea Manning gave you. We're not going to get into the larger complicated issue of what a media organization is and all the other hacking and dissemination that you've done of material. We're just going to focus on the Manning thing if you help us with the Trump campaign investigation. That's where I think this could go.
Okay. The extradition case in Britain, that did not center on the charges. It focused on whether the prison conditions here in the U.S. are too harsh for Assange's mental health conditions. The court sided with the Biden administration after they gave assurances that he would be treated humanely. But is this the kind of argument, similar ones like this, we're going to hear in trials going forward?
This gets complicated when you're talking about mental health issues. You may recall that Assange was holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy to the UK for 7 years.
Yeah.
That was not a pleasant experience by all accounts. And the Brits are rightly concerned about his mental health. And that could play into his veracity and credibility. But look, the American system is set up to deal with the criminally insane. We have mental health facilities. We have prisons that deal with the people who have serious mental health needs. And we have satisfied the British courts thus far, who said, OK, we're with you. You can have him. He's going to appeal. We'll wait that out. But the statute of limitations is still there, because if we ever get information from him and we want to charge the former president for lying to Mueller about this, the clock starts when he submitted those responses to the Mueller inquiry. We're still within that statute of limitations.
It's extraordinary, complicated and extraordinary. Thank you so much for ironing it out for us, Frank Figliuzzi. Have a good one. Meantime, the Fox News anchor is texting revelations about January 6th. Should there be more